Good morning. This is Norma Cowie with a Sunday thought. Sometimes on a Sunday morning, I wonder, what exactly am I going to talk about today? It's on the schedule, so I have to have some topic or other. Today happens to be the day before Halloween. So there's a lot of interesting things that go on around Halloween, lots of different energy. And so it got me thinking. I know my children, when they were little, used to be very delighted around Halloween and very excited about what costumes they were going to wear. And especially as they got older and was more involved in what they were going to look like and what they were going to do. And so it had me think about how much joy do we have in our lives as we progress older in age, almost every decade, things change. So how much do we have? Do we have joy? Do we have delight? And I added delight in there because there are many things that bring me pleasure. And I'm delighted in to be able to do them and see them. I have my favorite sports I like to watch. I have my favorite shows I like to watch, and they bring delight to me. I have places I like to go to eat that brings delight. But when you think of joy, that joyous bubble that happens as you get a little older, like myself, it comes in very different ways than what it does when you're younger and full of life and can seek many things out. And yet the feeling of joy is so good for your physical being and your mental well-being, is that no matter what our age is, I think we need to really seek it out and feel it and do it. Yes, I'm aware, because of the decades I've already put in, how things can change, how sadness can come into our lives, how we can sometimes work with depression and feeling not so great or not so involved. And I think many of us in the last couple of years have been really affected by lockdowns and not being able to be with people that we care about, and or community actions that were also put on hold. And sometimes it's difficult for us to pick those threads back up, to get the threads back working, to get out of the habit that you've had for 2 years living a certain way. And then being able to bring that delight, that joy, that feeling of aliveness back into your life. I'm privileged in that I have an inner feeling within myself that comes with me being connected to what I call the universal love force, and it gives me great solace. But it doesn't give me perhaps you might say, the joy that I had watching my grandchildren when they were little, or being able to participate in a group which had the group mentality as one of hilarity, or one of, because they know that laughter has healed a lot of different people who have been ill by watching movies, or in particular, which makes them laugh. Senses of humor can be in very different scale. I know my sense of humor sometimes is really nowhere near where anyone else's is. I can see how, what's the juxtaposition of things, and I begin to laugh, and people sometimes used to look at me and go, what are you laughing at? That's not funny. But I would see the juxtaposition of how a situation in a life can be very different from other people in lives, and what goes on and how it helps. But the reality of being, the feeling of aliveness, the feeling of laughter, the feeling of joy. There's a crazy new little show this year, and I sit there and I laugh through the whole thing. And it's really probably not that funny to a lot of people, but to me it is, because it's very similar to human life, how a family can act out different roles, and how one person in the family, where everyone thinks just doesn't have their act together, actually creates a lot of things that work. I'm not going to mention the name of the TV show, but it is a new one this year. And for some reason, I'm looking at it and thinking, I don't know why I'm laughing at this, but it is, to me, is funny. And laughter is important, because with it comes a feeling of delight, of being a part of everything, of seeing life in a different way. And that laughter can bring a sense of joy. And once you have that bubbling of joy, that sense of being alive, the sense of the well-being, I get a great delight because I live where there's hills and mountains and lakes, and just looking at the scenery sometimes and the clouds, watching the clouds and the different formations they make. They bring me a solace, not maybe a joy, but a solace, a sense of being part of it all and the beauty of this beautiful planet that we live in. And we've had a very early fall this year, I would say. It just sort of came overnight. And usually to me, always when my children were growing up and we were getting ready for Halloween, I lived on the coast in Vancouver area, and it tended most times to rain and or be very cold. And so that was kind of our beginning of fall. And now I can sense, I'm looking at my flowers and I realize, oh, the freezing at night's coming. I'm going to have, the poor things are going to have to go into the garbage pile, because they're going to freeze, and then it's going to be heavier for me to pick them up. But anyway, what brings you joy? I want you to think about this. What brings you joy? What brings you delight? Being with family, being with friends, watching a favorite movie that you didn't know was your favorite until you started watching it, taking yourself to look at scenery. I love to go down and watch the lake in all its different moods, and the birds. Not so easy in the summer where there's a lot of people, but in the fall and in the winter, the birds do different things. Different birds come through, and sometimes you see magnificent displays of them as they flock, sometimes getting ready to go south, and they make all this beautiful movement in the sky. Skies are a wonderful thing to look at and realize how changeable life is, because the skies can change. The clouds can change. I have occasionally put a picture I've taken of the sky up on Facebook. Not that I use Facebook that much, except to let people know my shows are on. Just maybe because the way things have been the last couple of years, I still haven't come out of that. And it's a good reminder for me. This talk this morning is a good reminder for myself as well as everybody else. Look for your joy. Do that which brings you joy. Do that which brings you delight. And make sure that you're happy within yourself, because life is a wonderful thing. Anyway, more about that on Wednesday. You have a great Sunday, a great Halloween tomorrow, and I trust you'll enjoy it all. Blessings to you.